Turning attention now to the free agent and trade market, it becomes clear that the options to upgrade the defensive tackle room are limited, especially as the calendar inches closer to the regular season. The Cowboys, like many teams, face a conundrum when it comes to finding impactful defensive tackles after the draft and early offseason moves have passed. This is a position where talent is scarce and experienced players are often locked into long-term deals, making it tough to pry someone loose without giving up significant assets or salary cap space. One of the names that comes up occasionally is Raekwon Davis, a tall, physically imposing nose tackle who could fit the Cowboys' need for a true anchor in the middle. Davis has the size and length to disrupt offensive lines, which is exactly what a run stopper needs to do. But his production has been inconsistent. He reportedly had a tough year last season, failing to live up to expectations despite receiving a decent contract. This inconsistency makes him a risk. The Cowboys front office would have to weigh whether Davis can rebound and provide reliable snaps, or if he's just another body who won't make a significant difference. Then there's Linval Joseph, a player with previous experience in Dallas who some see as a potential stopgap. Joseph's appeal lies in his familiarity with the organization and his ability to step in and provide depth when needed. He isn't the kind of player you build your defense around, but he might be the kind of veteran who can stabilize the position during stretches when injuries strike or young players need more development time. The downside is that Joseph hasn't played a full training camp in years, which raises questions about his conditioning and ability to stay healthy over the course of a demanding NFL season. Carlos Watkins also deserves mention here, though his track record suggests he's more of a depth piece than a true upgrade. Watkins joined the Cowboys mid-season last year when the defensive tackle room was in disarray, and while he provided some level of competence, he didn't change the dynamic enough to significantly improve run defense or pass rush from the interior. If Dallas were to bring him back, it would likely be as a fallback rather than a solution. Watkins can fill a roster spot and rotate in snaps, but he won't elevate the group to elite status. Looking further down the list of potential targets, there are players like Austin Johnson and Khalil Davis who have bounced around the league, making occasional appearances but never firmly establishing themselves as starters or key rotational players. Johnson, a Penn State product, offers size and some experience, but he's essentially a journeyman who fills gaps rather than creates them. Khalil Davis is smaller but quick, fitting a profile that could be useful in certain defensive packages, but not as a mainstay nose guard. Armon Watts, once linked to the Cowboys through coaching connections, is another name occasionally floated. In discussions, Watts has shown flashes of versatility, lining up in different spots along the defensive line and even playing some linebacker. His ability to move around could provide flexibility, but he's not a proven anchor against the run. Given the Cowboys' specific need for stoutness in the middle, Watts represents more of a depth experiment than a game-changing signing. When it comes to trades, the market is even more restrictive. The Cowboys have expressed interest in adding talent through trades, but the reality is that teams holding valuable defensive tackles are reluctant to part with their best players, especially when the season is just around the corner. Players like Javon Dexter or Andrew Billings would be perfect fits in theory. Dexter's power and agility could give Dallas a strong nose guard presence, and Billings' experience and ability to anchor the middle would address the team's most glaring weakness. Unfortunately, these players aren't likely to be available unless a team is in a full rebuild or dealing with a logjam at the position. Zach Pickens from Chicago is an intriguing late-stage trade possibility. Chicago has undergone significant defensive line changes and might have surplus players to move. Pickens fits a similar mold to Dallas's existing three-technique tackles and could provide some quality depth. However, his ability to play nose guard is limited, and his presence wouldn't fully solve Dallas's core problem of needing a dominant interior run defender. Still, if the opportunity arises, he could be a valuable rotational piece. Other names like Brick Martin and Jordan Elliott fall into the nose guard flyer category. These are players who might be available for relatively little investment but come with uncertain upside. Brick Martin was once a highly regarded prospect, but hasn't lived up to expectations, and Elliott, recently with the Browns and 49ers, is similarly a developmental piece. Bringing in players like this is a low-risk move, but it's unlikely to transform the defensive tackle room overnight. There's also Shea Tuttle, a big-bodied interior lineman recently added to the Panthers' rotation. He's known for his size and physicality, but hasn't yet proven to be a difference maker in the NFL. Dallas could consider a player like Tuttle if they want to add size and competition. But again, the leap from depth player to key contributor is a big one. Tyler Lacy, a more recent draft pick from Oklahoma State now with the Jaguars, represents a young player who could have upside down the line. Lacy's addition to the Cowboys draft board signals a desire to invest in developmental talent, but he's still early in his NFL journey. Expecting immediate impact from a player like Lacy is unrealistic, but he could be part of a multi-year strategy to improve the defensive tackle room. Of course, the ideal scenario is landing a high-caliber player like Grover Stewart or DeForest Buckner. Both players are proven elite-level defensive tackles who would drastically improve Dallas's defensive front. Unfortunately, both are key pieces for their respective teams, the Colts and the 49ers, who are competing for playoff success. These teams are unlikely to trade away their anchors unless circumstances drastically change. Perhaps around the trade deadline when teams reassess their playoff chances and roster needs. Until then, these players remain out of reach for Dallas. All of this brings us back to the harsh reality. The best time to address a position like defensive tackle is early in the offseason, through free agency or the draft, when options are plentiful and contracts can be negotiated without the pressure of an imminent season. Waiting until late July or August severely limits options and forces teams to rely on stopgap veterans, unproven rookies, or practice squad players who may never fully develop into impact contributors. This cyclical nature of the Cowboys' defensive tackle problem is particularly frustrating because it has been an issue for multiple seasons. The run defense struggles and lack of interior pressure continue to hamper the overall effectiveness of the defense. Fans and analysts alike want to see a plan to build a dominant defensive line, and the defensive tackle position is central to that vision. Looking forward, the Cowboys will need to monitor the roster closely during training camp and preseason games. The young players will have to prove they can rise to the challenge and contribute meaningful snaps, while the veterans need to stay healthy and consistent. Injuries in this position group would be particularly damaging given the limited depth. The coaching staff also has an important role in maximizing the talents of these defensive tackles. Schemes that emphasize their strengths and minimize exposure to their weaknesses can help mask some of the depth issues. Rotational strategies that keep players fresh and aggressive could also help compensate for a lack of elite talent. However, the fundamental need for a stout, disruptive nose guard remains. In conclusion, the Cowboys' defensive tackle room is a critical area of concern entering the new season. While there are some solid players entrenched on the roster, the overall depth is thin and the run-stopping ability is questionable. The free agent and trade markets offer few high-impact options, especially this late in the offseason, making it likely the team will rely heavily on young players and veteran stopgaps. For Dallas to improve defensively, the interior defensive line must be addressed either through internal development or an unexpected addition. The path forward is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the defensive tackle position will be a key storyline to watch as the Cowboys seek to compete at a high level this year. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. A fresh wave of speculation is stirring in the NFL world as rumors emerge about tension between Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys front office. Sources close to the team suggest that Prescott, the franchise's star quarterback, has openly criticized the management, sparking buzz about possible unrest behind the scenes. While no official statements have been released, insiders hint that the relationship between Prescott and the Cowboys brass might be more strained than fans realize. The whispers began shortly after a recent interview where Prescott appeared less than enthusiastic about the team's direction. Though he did not explicitly call out the organization, his comments have been interpreted by many as a subtle jab at the decision-making process and long-term vision of the Cowboys' leadership. This has led to a wave of speculation that Prescott's confidence in the front office is wavering, raising questions about the quarterback's future with the franchise. This is far from the first time Prescott's relationship with the Cowboys. Management has come under scrutiny. Over the years, the quarterback has been seen as the face of the franchise. But some analysts argue that his role in shaping the team's strategy has been limited. Now, with these new rumors swirling, there's a growing feeling that Prescott might be seeking more influence over personnel moves, or perhaps even considering alternatives if his concerns continue to go unaddressed. Fans and commentators alike are dissecting every word Prescott has recently said, looking for clues that might indicate whether this is merely a momentary frustration or the beginning of a more significant fallout. The Cowboys have remained tight-lipped, but insiders speculate that talks between Prescott and the front office could intensify in the coming weeks. Should these discussions fail to yield positive results, the landscape in Dallas might shift dramatically, opening the door to potential trades or contract renegotiations. As the Cowboys prepare for their upcoming season, the situation with Prescott adds an intriguing subplot. The team's success heavily depends on the quarterback's performance and morale, and any discord at the leadership level could ripple through the locker room. While the Cowboys have a history of managing high-profile personalities, the current buzz suggests this might be a more complex challenge than usual. The NFL community will undoubtedly keep a close eye on developments. Whether this tension evolves into a full-blown rift or gets resolved quietly behind closed doors remains to be seen. For now, the possibility of Dak Prescott expressing dissatisfaction with the Cowboys front office adds an unexpected twist to what was shaping up to be a routine offseason. As the rumor mill churns, fans can only speculate what the next chapter holds for one of the league's most talented quarterbacks and the storied franchise he represents. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.